Dude, I mean, those like exact words have been using. I've been using those same words since Revenge of the Sith came out. Seriously, I'm a little shocked at your phrasing. It's like identical to my thoughts. It's kind of weird, but yeah, I mean, same here. Um, Grievous represents the quote unquote poetry Lucas often speaks of when he's making these films. And honestly, I believe that Lucas has deluded himself into thinking that his cheap attempts to involve greater themes and capture the attention of those who are asking for larger stories are effective, and they're not. I mean, he fails to take into account, for instance, just for one instance here, for one example, you look at why does Grievous cough, he fails to take into account that some people who go to the theater might not have seen that cartoon, you know? And so they're going, wait, did that robot just cough? I mean, they're going to be confused, and needlessly so. I mean, when he could just stick in a line in the film and say, well, Mace Windu crushed his chest some time in the past. I mean, that's all he needs to do. The dude can't write. But, yeah. I mean, he's a coughing robot with lightsabers. That sounds an awful lot like a certain Sith Lord with respiratory issues that we're all familiar with, doesn't it? You know? Just a poetic reference to Vader, or a cheap attempt at characterization with the real purpose being of the entire endeavor being to sell millions of dollars worth of merchandise to slack-jawed children's parents with expendable income. You be the judge. Sadly, Grievous isn't the only half-assed thing about the prequels, not by a long shot. I've not been paying too much attention to the Clone Wars series, but I thought the movie was frighteningly bad, and it was so campy. I nearly mentioned or questioned my own sanity after I came out of the theater with that one. But I mean, I really wanted my $10 back for seeing that. I've never been so disappointed about any movie before. However, several of the episodes they look, surprisingly good considering what the movie was. So I'd be willing to give it a new chance. I'm particularly happy that they involved Jedi other than Obi-Wan and Anakin because I get enough of them in the movies, to be honest. I have a recommendation for you. Since you like the idea of setting the prequels in a different time period, you should check out the first volume of the Star Wars Legacy comic series. It takes place 125 years after Return of the Jedi, so it centers itself around the life of a distant relative of Luke Skywalker's who, like so many other Skywalkers before him, walks a fine line between light and dark. You know, it's the same old story. But he's learned to use the dark side of the Force in conjunction with his own unique healing ability. It's pretty cool. And so meanwhile, a completely altogether different order of Sith Lords than the ones Palpatine had in the films, they've taken control of the galaxy, and it's up to like a ragged little group of desperate heroes to sort out the pieces. And it's the top Sith Lord in charge is really sick, and he sends out like his forces to find the last Skywalker in the hopes of using his new dark healing ability to cure him, and so he'll be able to live on and bring his empire to fruition. It's really great stuff. The best part is that the Sith Lords, they're all treated with the same amount of time and character development as the heroes. So they're like just as much of the story as the Jedi are. So that's really great. And so because of the time difference, it's a blank canvas with which to create, new material that's far and away from Lucas's world, which was largely why Knights of the Old Republic, I think, was so successful. It was the developers had the freedom to do basically whatever they wanted, and so you got the idea, well, this game is real Star Wars, but at the same time, it's altogether new and fresh and exciting and has nothing to do with the movies at all, which is really great. Yeah, yeah, the comment you made with the prequels are just answers to the questions nobody asked. Now, that is poetry. Very well put. That's great. Great way of putting it. Yeah, I too feel that the story should have been centered more around the Sith than it was the Jedi, especially since it was about Anakin turning to the Sith, and even more because the Jedi are underdeveloped characters anyway. So no matter which way you went, the time was wasted. Valuable time was wasted with those films. So much could have been explained, and it just wasn't. What they needed to do was they needed to condense the whole Padme Anakin romance, which was vomit inducing, and cut out the entire pod race sequence, or at least shorten it to a very minimal scene. It was way too long and overblown and boring. Um, they could have used that collective save time between those two movies to tell us the histories of both the Jedi and Sith orders. Make us care about the plot. Don't give me a clumsy Gungan or a long, boring, terrible pod race, one-note characters, superficial plot devices, drab political dialogue, and stale performances. Oh, I don't want any of that. But one thing of it, just to clarify, I think the cast is great. He had great actors in that movie. It's just the execution sucked. Every actor in those movies is a good actor, with the possible exception of Hayden. Ewan McGregor, in particular, he's an amazing talent. I love his work, in several of his other pictures. Unfortunately, a celibate, overcritical, stodgy monk is boring no matter who plays it, you know? I also feel that the whole midichlorians maneuver is what pissed off a lot of fans, myself included. It sort of ruined the magic of the Force. Growing up listening to Yoda explain what it means to be in touch with the living Force around us, and it's ruined when the Force was just a bunch of microscopic little scientifically quantifiable germs that live in your cells. I mean, what the hell? It ruins the concept of remember, Luke, the Force will be with you always. Because that doesn't mean anything anymore. It just means Luke has a genetic advantage over anyone who doesn't have midichlorians. So it's a medical condition, the Force. It's something you're born with. It's not something you can develop. So he's got something that nobody else has, and that ruins the magical, inspiring ideal that anyone could be a Jedi. That you had when you watched these movies as a kid. You think, well, when you pretend, you go, well, if I gain enlightenment and self-control, then I can become a Jedi. Well, no, you can't. Not anyone can do it. You have to have midichlorians. It also calls into the question of why would the Force, quote unquote, be with anyone? I mean, are these little organisms just a collective consciousness, or that are set against the misuse of their powers when Sith Lords use it, or is it their power or the power of the user? What is the dark side? Is that a bunch of evil microscopic bacteria on the dark side of the midichlorians, or is it the user that's evil? I'm very confused. And so when it comes to midichlorians, they should have just left it out. And if the midichlorians have a problem with Darksiders using the Force through them, why not just cut them off from the Force? I don't understand any of it. It's just needlessly stupid. Yeah, I was the same way. When I first heard of midichlorians, I was like, yeah, whatever. It just went over my head. But now that I'm older, I realize what a strange and altogether unnecessary detriment it is to the prequel films. Okay, a scene I liked, thought was very well done from the prequels actually, was the scene where the Chancellor became the Emperor by giving a passionate speech to the crowd and crowned himself Emperor in the name of delivering a safe and secure society. I thought that scene was beautiful. Um, so beautiful it made me, forget about its intrinsic absurdity. I'm setting aside the insane notion that a room full of senators just handed over the power to legally control trillions upon trillions of people to one man whose sob story about treacherous Jedi hasn't even been looked into yet. I'm setting that all aside because the scene was so charismatic and it was pulled off really well. And Ian McDiarmid did a great, performance in that scene. And the music was just superb. and it nicely mixed with the scene between that and Anakin taking out the Separatist leaders, while Palpatine, for lack of a better terminology, took out democracy. It was I just thought it was really great. It was so good it made me think about its mediocrity, and so it's a very effective and memorable scene, and I like it very much. Yeah, all right. Well, this has been great talking with you. I'd love to do it again sometime in the future. Thanks for chatting with me about all this, and thank you to all you guys as well who stuck around and listened to us talk about all this. You guys are awesome. You all have a good day.